Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing on a Monday evening? Thomas, Catherine, welcome to another edition. Let's see who's all slotted in. Brian. And we got Jesse. Hello. Nana Boss, welcome. As Gary Spike Senior is jumping into the scene here. Welcome, everybody. So, Chris, how are you doing this evening?
Good. It's Monday. Happy Monday.
Yeah. So how'd your weekend go?
Pretty good. I stayed busy. Didn't make it out in the field this weekend, unfortunately. But hey, it was 90 degrees, and I'm ready for that cold front to come down.
Welcome, Carol. Nice to see you. Jesse,
a little bit warm out.
It is. Tammy Johnson, Prospecting USA, Hunting Americans' Treasures. Hey, y'all. Welcome. So, hunting season is still going on in northern Kentucky and Commonwealth of the state, I should say. So, this is where we have believers come forward and say that they believe in Bigfoot and stuff. So, but we have somebody interesting. We have a special guest tonight. Actually, I was on her show last night. Hey, Penny Van, welcome you all. And Nana Boss. We're going to see Nana Boss this week, too. So I got her coming on the show. But we got Christina George. I think the world of her. A very special, talented young lady. She's a seasoned paranormal investigator. a psychic medium, a contactee, whose journey into the mystical realms has spanned nearly 2 decades. Can you believe that? That's wild,
Wow.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's a long time.
From her very first supernatural encounter at the tender age of 4, Christina's life has been a captivating odyssey into the unknown. Psychic prodigy from childhood, Christina's extraordinary journey began with her intimate psychic abilities servicing a mere 4 years old. That's just incredible. These uncanny talent soon blossom into full-blown psychic mediumship, setting the stage for a lifetime dedicated to uncovering the mysteries that lurk beyond the veil. Paranormal investigator extraordinaire. I love it. You're going to adore her. With close to 20 years in the field plus, Christina George is not just a casual observer of the supernatural. She's a trailblazer investigator. I love that part. Unearthing the secrets of haunted locations, mysterious phenomenon, and the unexplained. Her commitment to separating fact from fiction, I love that part, my favorite, has earned her respect among fellow investigators and enthusiasts alike. She's also a radio host and storyteller. As the charismatic host of 2 captivating radio shows, one of them's Paranormal Connections, you all need to check out, and Top Secret News, you need to check out as well. Christina invites listeners on a spellbinding journey into her heart and of the unexplained. With their memorizing storytelling and interviews with their experts around the world. Does that not sound familiar? Around the world, I love it. She offers front row seats of paranormal like never before. She's on the road, phenomenon explorer. Christina doesn't confine her pursuits to the studio. She actually crisscrosses the United States, leading her abilities to those in need. I love it, bringing solace to those haunted and providing answers to the enigma. Her travels are a testament to her unwavering dedication to assisting others in her paranormal quest. Christina George's remarkable career has blurred the lines between reality and the supernatural, allowing her to channel her unique abilities into helping others and uncovering the hidden truths of our world. Her YouTube and her shows are not just what people listen to the radio host as well. She also is embarking on a mystical journey on the promise to expand understanding of the unknown. And I can go on, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to bring her on. Welcome. I adore you to death. The first time we met, I knew you was out of the box, right? So, but welcome to the show. So introduce yourself and tell everybody all about you.
Well, I think you did a pretty good job right there. I have to say, I can't even take any credit on that bio because it's AI generated. But boy, AI really loves me, obviously, right? Because it had lots of nice things to say. But yes, I am a radio show host. I've had my abilities that I've known about since I was 4. Kind of didn't know what was going on back then. Didn't see anything wrong with it. Grew up in a very strong Catholic church-going family, and that was one of the things that was even more confusing because priest would always tell me none of that existed and to stop talking about it. And
right.
I'm kind of like this little rebel, I have always we're looking for truth, and so of course they teach us to go to, if we don't have an answer, to go to the priest. He knows all. So I go there and he says, Christina, there's no such things as ghosts and spirits. And I said, well, then when we pray, why do you tell us to say in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, or the Holy Ghost? Oh, well, that didn't go over well, so I was always told to be very quiet, which I never was. It's the Italian in me. But I also was left-handed, which anybody who goes to Catholic school is forbidden. So that is another sign of the devil child. So, and I have green eyes. So I had the trifecta. So yeah, it was, and I was always talking to everybody about this. So it was, I had an interesting childhood. Uh, went up to my teen years. I started having very accurate precog dreams that were mostly weather related. As I got older, they expanded. I was being shown false flag events. I was shown the towers, 9/11, lots of major things. Never again
Really?
post,
Wow.
yeah, never posted about them again. To be honest, I really never knew why I had these. Again, I didn't understand why I had my abilities in the first place, but why I had these dreams. And it was funny because I was young, and I would hear people that would say, like, I would go to these psychic fairs and stuff, the little ones in our town, and I hear people saying, "Oh, you have spirit guides and things like that." So I didn't know what the spirit guides were, but I thought, okay, well, they must be showing me these things that are going to happen for whatever reason. I didn't know what. I've never been able to change them, so I never really understood why anybody would be showing me stuff that was happening, but it did. And I always just thought that they were just something, information that was given to me like psychic abilities, and not so much, but they were very accurate. For a while, my friends were like, "You need to really start posting this stuff," and I'm like, "Oh man, I already get enough being in the paranormal, and then now, and I am, I'm a psychic, so that's bad, and then I'm also an abductee, so like." I don't know that we want to really go with the whole now I have the precog dream thing. And they convinced me. I started putting stuff out immediately. People are like, yeah, what are you Googling? What are you doing? And things would happen like 6 months out, and somebody'd say, oh, that's wow, didn't you say something about that? And then they started getting closer and closer and closer, and I started posting, and like the Japan tsunami. I saw that, and I forecast that like months before it ever happened. And so when that
Wow.
happened, now it changes everything, because now people are seeing a proven track record that when I put something out, everybody's kind of looking to see if something happens, and then they're realizing it is. Now everybody's super interested, but they're also super upset at me because they're saying, "Oh, now you're trying to fearmonger everybody and scare everybody and thinking that it's the end of the world." And I'm like, absolutely not. I've never seen the end of the world in anything I've been shown. So that's not something.
People always find bad things, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you do or what you can prove or whatever. There's
Mhm.
always going to be somebody that's going to discount you or disbelieve you. So I
Right.
guess that's one thing of being, especially in the paranormal field, like being public in the paranormal field. I've been investigating forever, but actually in the public eye, it's a whole different, it's a whole different story. So it really, the fit of the fittest survive, because this can be pretty brutal, field to be in. But once you
Yeah.
do, put that work in, there's really not too much anybody can think or say or tell me that or disbelieve of me that would ever affect me anymore. It's everybody's just got their own opinion, and it's okay. We can agree to disagree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I totally agree with that. I mean, you hit so many nails on the head with the hammer, and it's true. Somebody made a comment. Is like, yeah, the nun tried to make me right-handed. And ladies and gentlemen, back in the days, if you were left-handed and you went to Catholic school, they would tie your left hand behind your back and force you to write right-handed.
Or whack you
So
with the ruler. When people talk
yes,
about that, it is really true. They really did that and didn't think twice about it. I mean, I'm ambidextrous because of it. So
see,
yeah,
That's
here's
wild.
another one. Penny Van. I remember the kids that went to Catholic school were not allowed to be left-handed.
that's right.
Never heard the stuff in regular schools. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, that is absolutely true, and I think the psychic on our last show brought that up as well.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's definitely something that sticks out in your, in your mind. And again, the fact that I was questioning about seeing people that nobody else was seeing, and having conversations, and you know everybody tried to convince me that it was the so-called, in that time, imaginary friend, and try to put it across that way. And I'm like, no, this is very real. So I'm not sure about that. So I really questioned everything very young, not really knowing what was going on with me, but knowing that it wasn't resonating with me, that what they were telling me was true. So
That's wild. What you said something about you first knew about the age of 4. Take
Yeah.
us back then. What was it that happened that you realized something was going on?
Well, so we lived in this home, and I lived in Napa, California. So we lived in like this Victorian home. It was obviously now it was actually probably very most one of the most haunted now that if you look back. But there was a woman and 2 children that I can remember as young as 4 years old. And for a very long time, I mean, I played with the kids in my room. The mother, she just kind of like oversaw me. She would always tell me like not to say anything, just because she'd always say that, the adults won't understand. And as a kid, when you're questioning and questioning, you never get anything back. And now you've got, somebody to play with. If they tell you like, oh, we're friends, you don't have to tell them anymore. We believe you're very impressionable at that age.
Hmm.
Thank goodness it wasn't something, dark in nature, because I would have been completely okay. Sure, what do you want me to do? But it
Right.
was just a mother and their 2 children. Come to find out later, I found out that they actually had died from a fire in the home. So, but
Wow.
that was once I became an adult and went back and started really investigating a lot of the experiences that I had. My dad and uncle also um, had to an antique store in an old haunted mansion in Napa as well. And so growing up, I would go and visit them there, and all kinds of crazy stuff would happen. And the funniest thing is that my psychic abilities come from my dad's side of the family, but my mom and dad got divorced when I was 2. And then, other than just seeing them kind of hit and miss throughout because my mom and dad didn't get along, I rarely saw him, other than again seeing my grandparents, his parents, until I was 18. And then I went to go search my dad out. And later in my adult life, I happened to go to a family cemetery of ours, where our family founded the town. I went there and went through the cemetery. And as I get to the older part, I see all of the Freemason insignia. And I'm like, oh, well, again, not growing up without my dad, I didn't know any of our history. I just never was in contact with anybody to tell us. So now I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
this is interesting. So I call my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, I happen to be, at the family cemetery. He's like, what are you doing there? And I'm like, oh, I just happened to stop by. And I'm seeing all of this Freemason stuff. And he was like, he just stopped, dead silence. And I'm like, and he's like, oh, yeah, well, about that, honey. I guess it's time that we should have this talk. And
Wow.
it's already like in my 30s. I'm like, Dad, like, what talk are we gonna have? Like, I've got 4 kids. Like, the birds and the bees, that's gone. Like, all of the talks you could have had. Like, which one are you talking? He says, yeah, well, we have a very interesting history in our family. In fact, I know that you've talked a lot about, your psychic abilities, and you actually get them from our side of the family. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, you just now decided to just throw this my way. So,
Wow.
Wow.
yeah.
That's interesting.
And we might say that some of my ancestors back then used to sell the souls of their grandchildren in order for riches and prosper. So, go figure.
At least you weren't sold.
I know, and I don't got no soul. So, hey.
So, what did
Oh
your mom
goodness.
say when you were playing? Did your mom know you were playing with the kids and stuff, or?
My mom did, but my mom was convinced, as so many other people. I mean, I'm 56 years old, so it's not like, this was like recently. Um, Back then, anybody that talked about ghosts or spirit, or seeing something that nobody else saw, especially a child, it was immediately considered a child, an imaginary friend. And almost every child, it's like that I knew, but they all have, oh yeah, I had one too. And then like when I got a little older, I didn't have it anymore. And I'm like, okay, so I guess I just go away, but mine never went away. So my mom just kind of just would say, I don't know. And then all in our family, the whole thing was, okay, if you have a question that nobody can answer, send it to the priest. Well, the priest is not my friend, so he is not answering, and nor is he wanting to hear any of my questions. So
Wow.
I was left with just, let's just try to figure it out. It's like, just putting you in some, job and just saying, like, just figure it out. See if you can maneuver your way of how to run the place.
Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
That's also how I ended up with an attachment as a teenager as well. So, it's such a different time. And I will be glad, I will say that for about 12 years after I got into the field, I started out just doing residential cases. That's all that I would do. But I have a terminal autoimmune illness. And over the years, the more residential cases I took on, the more I started seeing it affecting my health drastically. So then I kind of got away from the residential cases, unless it was just somebody that I knew that needed my help, or, another person in the field that needed, my assistance. Then I went as far as so for my attachment, I ended up getting some friends. And now, mind you, I'm a very social person, but people loved me until they got to know me. And then as soon as they got to know me and I got comfortable, I would say, oh yeah, I can see things that other people can't see, thinking like I got a friend I can finally confide in. And either I'd freak them out, or they would immediately go tell their parents, and their parents would forbid them to ever have anything to do with me again.
Yeah.
So my mom happened to be a bartender in our town. And so there was a cemetery right across the street. And so I hung out while she worked. That was back when parents would just take their kids and, either have them in the bar with them at, night, or they'd be like in the car babysitting themselves until they got a break, bring them some snacks, peanuts and stuff. So I hung out over at the cemetery all the time. And so that's where I hung out. So people really didn't kind of know what to think about me because, again, I'm very social. I can make friends, but I was all over the place. And so I hung out at the cemetery and I met this group of goth kids, and they just immediately took to me. And they didn't think I was weird. They thought I was so fascinating. The main girl, she invited me to a sleepover, and I was like, first sleepover I'd ever had. And I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, absolutely. I got friends now. This is going to be cool. I went to the house. They had turned the garage into a little room or whatever. And so I walk in, and they've got this table set up, and they've got a Ouija board on there, and they've got the lights all dimmed and stuff.
Nope.
Now, again, doesn't scare me because I grew up in a time where just about every single friend I had, their parents had a Ouija board in their board game closet. So it was nothing that scared me. I thought it was a game. I just never had to play the game because I could see the spirits. I didn't need a board to tell me anything. So they walk in and they're like, oh, hey, we just want to see if you're the real deal. And I'm like, and that's kind of where it starts, where I always throughout from there forward, I have to prove everything to people. So I'm like, oh, okay. So what do we do? And she's like, all right, we're gonna do a seance. We're gonna use the Ouija board, and we're gonna ask questions. And before the board answers, we want you to give us the answer.
Wow.
Okay, sure, why not? Sounds easy enough. So I'm like, all right. So they sit me by the table, but I can't touch. So I'm just sitting there. And then we do all the stuff. They start answering. Now, mind you, they don't know how to use a Ouija board. Nor did I at that time either. Now, hindsight's 30. But I'm like, okay. They start asking questions, and I'm getting the answer, and I'm telling them. And then the pendulum is going, and it's saying exactly what I say. So first couple ones, they're arguing amongst each other on who is pushing the pendulum to the planchette to make it go say what I'm saying. And they're all accusing each other, and they're all swearing, no, it wasn't me, blah, blah, blah. Then something else comes out, and then so they start answering the question. I'm answering it, and one of them got very personal to the head girl, and it freaked her out. And at that moment, she's like, no more. And she picks it up, and she literally takes it out of the room, out to the side of the garage, into the backyard. and literally put it in a metal garbage can and set it on fire.
Oh.
Okay, now mind you, hindsight. Now we know that, right? You need to open and close Ouija boards. And second of all, you should never burn them. She didn't know. We didn't know. We were young. We were teenagers. Didn't know any of this. And yeah, so something came home with me and has literally been with me ever since that day.
Wow.
So
Wow.
because of that, I decided that after the residentials, kind of go back aside from the residentials, when I stopped those, I decided instead I wanted to mentor children and teenagers with psychic abilities. So I kind of turned my focus towards that. I had lots of clients that had children that were affected. And so I started talking to them. I started, it was somebody, I kind of turned into somebody I wish I would have had when I was going through all of my experiences.
Right.
So I would have run into all these problems. So I could educate them on, what things are. If they had questions, if they thought something was negative, if something was scaring them. I also then connected in a private group, all of these kids, which were across the United States, and it kind of gave them their own support group. So now they could go and they could talk about issues that they deal with at school and with friends, and how each other deal with it. And so it gave them like their own support group. And one step further, then I also had to mentor the parents on how to deal with a child who has psychic abilities, because how can I, if I'm only there a short amount of time once a week, and the parents are there all the time, and they are key to the experience a child's going to have growing up. So I really help them. I forbid, I didn't want anybody investigating until they were older, and that was one of my main things. But yeah, I've mentored a lot of kids over the years, and so I think that's probably my most, you know, um, shining light of what I've done over the past 20 years in the field, was kind of connect and really help kids out there.
That's
So
really
that's what
cool.
Yeah, that
That's
really
really cool.
is. Probably saved a lot of lives too.
Right. And a lot of attachments.
Yeah, well, that interesting, that attachment, again, being a young child with abilities, I had no idea what was going on. And I also, as a teen, I was a cutter. And
Self
I now
mutilator.
know, interviewing so many other people, that is a common denominator with a lot of us, and especially people with high empathic ability as well, because you're taking, not only you're dealing with your own emotions, and then you got the heightened, because now you're going through your puberty, so you've got your rage, everything's going crazy for girls, and then on top of it, you have just the stresses of life, just so many things that go on. So it's kind of good to be able to bring people together, and be able to help them to be able to kind of guide their way through all of this, and not get into a bad situation, because again, I had nobody to mentor me or to show me, and so I literally just tried to do what I thought was right. And unfortunately, kind of like on the job training, that you're like, oh, something goes real bad, and you're like, oh, I'll remember never to do that one again. So it's kind of
Well,
how it goes.
you mentoring them like that is probably definitely therapeutic for you as well. And hopefully
Absolutely.
that passes on and grows with them. Maybe they'll help somebody down the line as well.
I hope so. I've kept in contact with quite a few. Some aren't in the paranormal anymore. Again, it's hard to kind of manipulate your way and manifest your way through this field, especially young. And like now, it's like a completely different field. Like every kid now wants to be a TikTok star, and YouTube creator, and in the paranormal. So a lot of them have great ideas and content, but the problem is that they're also faking a lot of things just for views and for money. And so again, now you kind of muddy the waters for everybody again. Like, we work
Hmm.
so hard in the field to bring forward evidence, and hey, I'm probably one of the biggest debunkers you'll ever meet. And I make people so mad sometimes. They're like, you're a psychic and you're still debunking stuff? Absolutely. Like if there isn't an alternate reason for this other than paranormal, 100% I want to put, I don't care about views. I don't care about, oh, it's going to mess up your content. Delete me out of it then, because, I've seen all kinds of things, cause EMF readers to go off and stuff. Even, especially in California, smart meters in people's homes. You
Yes.
anywhere in the vicinity, your equipment's gonna go off like crazy. And I'm like, oh, you got a smart meter. Oh yeah, you were hallucinating. Yeah, well, your head's right behind where the wall where it's mounted. Go figure. So I mean, there's a lot of things that you absolutely can find an explanation for. And I'm not out here just to rub people's backs and tell them what they want to hear. If you're really scared and you really think something's going on, let me come in and tell you if there's something really to be scared of or not. Because people are scared of a lot of things. And, I'm sure that scary movies and reality TV probably fuels that a lot, because everybody thinks that everything is a demon. If I hear that one more time, I've been searching 56 years. I've been searching. Don't know what the heck I would do if I actually encountered one, because I have no expertise in that for sure. But I haven't been able to find. I've run into some very dark stuff, I will say. Do I think that it's demonic? Or for me, just not so much. And I really I had like 2 years that I was just fascinated with demonologists and exorcists. If you claimed you're one, I needed to interview you. And in fact, if you had a case, I wanted you to give me a call so I could jump on a plane and I could just come and just watch what was going on. I just wanted to see with my own eyes. Like that's what I am. I'm about facts and receipts. So, but still to this day, I've heard a lot of stories. I just haven't had my chance to be able to actually encounter one.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think TV kind of blows things out of proportions and hypes up a lot of people's things that they have at home or their occurrences, and people think the worst. Absolutely. So
I 100% believe they exist. Let me put that out there. I do believe they exist. I just think that it is very rare. I mean, every time I see a television show or a YouTube channel and it's like, the demons attacked us, it's like, man, where are you guys going? Because you just seem to open a portal to Demons R Us and everybody can have one. So I got you for one special.
yeah, so I do want to ask you. I never got to ask you on the last show. Aliens. Where do you stand on that?
I will say I always believed that there was truth to it for a very, very long time. And then my own encounter made me an absolute true believer. I guess we didn't talk about it, but we'll go back to my precog dreams. Remember, I said that I just thought that they were the spirit guides or whatever, or somebody showing me this. The way they always played out from the teen years until still to this day, I would go to sleep and then I would wake up and I would be in a big circular room, and it had like a circular base, like a platform in the middle of it. I would literally just walk up onto that, and there would be like a screen in front, no TV, but just like a holographic screen would come up, and it would show me what was going to be happening. Now, this is always strange because I am not geographically good at all. So they're showing me, places on a map, and they're showing me different things, and then they're showing me a close up of what's going to happen and stuff. And then so I'm having pull out a map to try to figure out where they're showing me, and sometimes I could figure it out, sometimes I couldn't. So, and then once it was done, the screen would go off, and then I would wake up in my bed, in my room, with sleep paralysis every single time.
Wow.
So there were a few times that I started seeing what looked like little grays. And now, mind you, this is, more in my adult life. Once I'm already into the paranormal, I'm already actually in radio. And I'm interviewing contactees, abductees, paranormal people. I'm interviewing everybody. And the first thing I'm thinking is, oh, well, they say you have to like move something. So, I would just concentrate and try to just move like a finger or something. But I never knew why, because nothing bad happened. I just remembered that they showed me this and I've been having this since I was a teenager. Well, one night everything changed. So I go in there and they don't show anything. And after a little while, a screen comes up, but this time it's not showing me anything that's weather related or anything that's something that's going to happen. Instead, it's showing me pretty much like a carousel of my life, but not just my life, only every super bad scenario that's ever happened to me is being shown. Every trauma that I've had to go through is being shown to me. And on top of it, I can feel those same feelings and emotions and pain as they're showing it to me.
Wow.
And it's just overwhelming. I drop to my knees and I'm like, I just don't understand. Like, what do you want from me? Like, just tell me what you want me to do. Like, I don't understand what you want me to do with all of this. And it goes dark. Now, this time I look past where the screen would have been, and I can see that there is what looks like a window. So, of course, inquisitive Christina gets up and I decide, I've never seen it before. I decide to go out and look out this window. And when I look out the window, what I see is a whole bunch of stars. And directly in front of me, I look and see what looks to be the sun. And then I look to the right, and it seems that I'm looking, and that seems to be Earth. So immediately I'm very present and I have very cognitive thinking. So I'm trying to run this through my brain, like, what in the world? Like, hold on, I'm not in just a room, I'm in space. Like, now I'm thinking circular room. Oh my God, if I'm in space, I must be in some kind of craft. What in the world is going on? Right. So I'm scared, but I'm thinking, okay, I don't know how to get out of here. Because after the thing goes off, I'm just back in my bedroom. So I have no clue what to do. And as funny as it sounds, I grew up very intrigued and always watching Star Trek. And I used to tell people very young, oh, this stuff isn't make believe. This stuff really, really happens. And everybody thought it was so funny. But you remember when they would go up to like different rooms on the ship, and they would go up and they'd put their hand up on a space, and then it would, I guess, read it, and then it would open. Well,
Right.
for some reason, I just walk up to the wall and I just put my hand up, and the doors open. 2 doors, they just slide open that you couldn't see previously. It was just a wall, and it opens. So I poke my head out and I look to the left, to the right. All I see is 2 long, long hallways, both going in the other directions, and they have little like LED lights all along both sides, all the way up. But I couldn't see what was the end of them. So now I'm thinking, okay, well, I guess I need to go and see where I'm at because I can't get out of here. So at least I can get out this. So I'm like, should I go to the left or should I go to the right? Well, being left-handed, the left for me in any decision is always the right decision. So I just thought I'm going to go to the left. So I go down to the left. I start walking. The doors close behind me. Okay, now, I guess I figured out how to get out of there, but I didn't know how to get back in. So now I'm like, okay, I'm out here. So I keep walking down. I get to the end of this hallway and I turn right. And so there's like this like little waiting area kind of space. And I can see that there's a big door that looks kind of like, a security door that you would see like in a laboratory, something like that. Then I look and there's a glass wall and I look over and what I see is just stack on stacks of these square cubes. And in there is what looks like alien human hybrids in different gestational processes. So the ones more towards the top were further along. Now, again, I have, as I said, I have interviewed many abductees, and it is usually not a good experience. So immediately panic kicks in, and I'm like, okay, I don't know where I'm at, but I got to get out of here. So I need to get back to where I'm at. So I immediately start to run, and I go around the corner, and I run into two guys standing there. Now, again, this is kind of like, this is why, for me, a lot of things don't make sense, because what's reported to me by, people that I'm interviewing and my experience were a little different, and some didn't make a lot of sense. So first of all that I see is that they are in full camo, like military. They also have, interestingly enough, they have a rifle over their shoulder with a strap. Now, again, if we're in a craft, why would anybody need a rifle? So it doesn't make sense. But I'm looking for any kind of markings, names, anything, patches, anything that might be on the uniform. So I'm looking at that, but there's nothing. I look up, and they've got almost like riot gear, like, a helmet. And so it goes down to right about here. The thing that I notice is that their jawline, everything from here down looked exactly like the same, and it looked like a mannequin. It didn't even look real. So I'm just like, before I could even think of trying to get away from them, they both of them had me by one arm. One of them touched something to my arm, and that was all I remembered. I wake up, I'm in another room. Now I'm in a room that looks like an operating suite, but it's very dimmed down, very low light. There's a group of what looks like doctors. They're in, they got doctor jackets on, the clipboards. They're talking in a little circle. Um, this little gray walks in and walks right to me, right next to the bed. And I'm looking, and I look at, and I'm look down at the gurney that I'm on, or this bed that I'm on. And another strange thing is, I'm strapped down. Now, again, everybody I've talked to that's been abducted, they're not strapped down. They are just, I guess, by mind manipulation, they're unable to move. But I'm strapped down. And this little gray is psychopathically telling me to calm down. I'm okay. Everything's going to be all right. And which is making me panic even more, because now the reality is really starting to kick in. First of all, I'm not in some room. I am actually on some kind of spacecraft. And there is research being done on this. There's people in military gear. I am strapped down, and there is an alien presence here. So, in all of my experience, this is more of a my lab type of experience, which is definitely one you don't want to be in. So now I'm even more panicked, but I don't know how to get out of here. Like, what can I do? And at that point, I see two of the people, the doctors, walk out. They come back in, and they've got this rolling tray. Now, a lot of people probably don't know, I used to be a nurse way back in the day. And that's a sterile tray. And usually when you bring in a sterile tray like that, it's not going to be anything that's going to be pleasant. So now my heart's racing. I feel like I'm going to throw up. I just, and this little gray keeps just trying to tell me to calm down. And I watch it, and all I can do is move my eyes, but I see him go around the table and comes to my right side. And I can see him move the cover, and there's a bunch of stuff there. And the next thing I feel is something near my ear, and I feel something crawl in my ear, like literally crawl in it. And at that point, I woke up, I'm in my bed, full blown sleep paralysis, like right out of like Close Encounters. My jaw was wide open. I couldn't close it. I'm wide awake. All that I can think of is that my daughter and my grandson are in the room right next door, and my grandson comes to come in with me every morning when he wakes up, and I don't want them to find me like this. So once I literally have about an hour where I'm just letting all of this sink in and process it, and tears are just rolling down my eyes, and I finally am able to break free. And all that I could think about, it changed me. Like, I was so panicked. I got dressed, I got in my car, I literally started driving up towards the mountains in Reno, and my only intention was to drive as far up the mountain as I could and drive right off the embankment to my death. And
Wow.
I was seconds away from that happening. For whatever reason, I knew that these weren't my thoughts. I didn't know what was going on with me. I literally started praying. And right before I hit the guardrail, I slammed on the brakes and literally missed going through the guardrail just probably by less than a foot. So,
Jeez.
based on that, I have my own paranormal. I have a research society here in Sacramento, and we have two divisions: one for the paranormal, one for aliens, Bigfoot, anything like that. And so, one of my UFO division members was is now a very well known regression hypnotherapist, and she specializes in abductees and contactees, but she does it like it's a third party type of thing, so you don't go through that trauma. um, she'd been wanting to regress me for years, telling me that she thought there was much more going on with me than just paranormal psychic ability stuff. And I felt it a little bit, but I also felt like, okay, if there's a block there, it's probably for a good reason. And it's not something that I can handle. So I didn't know that I wanted to know. And then on top of it, I
Right.
even struggled because even though I'm very open about my life, I had two different shows. The paranormal stuff, the UFO people didn't believe anything I was saying about the paranormal. The paranormal people won't believe anything you're saying about UFOs, and so I'm just like, wow, like where do I go with this? So I went into a deep depression. I just had all kinds of issues, but I had the regression. I did get a lot of my questions answered, but unfortunately, it left me with tons more questions. And I'm not really willing to go back under regression to find out. So
Right.
it's just
I don't
something I'm
blame
gonna
you.
live with.
I don't know if I'd want to know either. To be honest
Yeah,
with you.
yeah. So yeah, and I mean, I think everybody's watched, like Close Encounters, like Before Kind and stuff like that, and you see the person go through the regression and he's experiencing, everything like it's brand, he's just right there again. And so, yeah, I didn't have anything to compare it to. So I was pretty scared, but I was more scared of what had just happened to me. So it was like, the chance, the options were kind of equal. So I'm like, all right, screw it, might as well try. And, come to find out, yeah, I got a lot of information. And interestingly enough, some of the information that I came up with, the alien, I had described what the alien race looked like that I had interactions with. She had another client and she's like, oh my God, this is so great. Hold on just a second. And she went into another office and she came back with a drawing in her hand. And she looked at it and it was exactly what the people had just described to her. And it was from a whole other client that she had done a regression on years
Uh,
prior that had interaction with with the same people. And she drew it. I just can't draw.
That's
That's wild.
interesting. Yeah. So, what do you tell people that think they have experiences and they're afraid to come forward?
Find my show or a show like it, like yours, and come on and share your story. It's time, and it's not like it was 20 years ago. We get a lot of people that, yeah, their stories are very old. Sometimes when they were in their teenage years or younger and they had sightings or were abducted, and now they're 50, 60 years old. But, and that people say, oh, why'd they wait so long? It must not be true. No, it was just a whole different time back then, and it was not something that you would want. Like, it could ruin your career, your job. Like, you could lose everything. It's not like it is now. Now, everybody wants to go and tell their story for clout. But for people who are struggling, I feel like shows that focus on stuff like this, and for mine, I really love bringing on guests that have personal experiences, because it shows my listeners that they're not alone. And again, just like I did when I was mentoring, the kids, now all these people, and you saw it last night, Grizzly, when we were in doing our chat, and it's like people from both sides. They're like, oh yeah, this was your experience. Oh, I had something similar. Oh, can I add you on
Right.
Facebook? People were, connecting. That's what we want. We want people to feel accepted and that they can talk and they can speak their truth. Because even though it's not everybody else's truth, doesn't mean it's not the truth. And with everything coming out, now is the time. Get those stories out and get that support you need. Don't feel alone and isolated.
That is true. Now, you mentioned Bigfoot earlier. What do you think about Bigfoot?
Oh, I 100% believe in Bigfoot. So as I was talking a little bit with on the show last night, I have been camping forever, since I was very young, and our favorite place to go camping with my cousins was up at Lake Shasta. And I've had UFO sightings there. I've had paranormal stuff happen up there, and I've had multiple Bigfoot sightings up there. Uh, my only thing is like, for me again, I'm really about proof and receipts, and it's like I did see this thing. Was I close enough to 100% say that, what it was? Absolutely not. And back then it wasn't like we walked around with a Polaroid camera all the time. So, it's not like you had a cell phone, you just pulled out to snap the picture. But between the structures that we found out there that were built, the howls and the noises that we would hear at night while we were camping, the stuff that they would catch on trail cams, unfortunately, it's like, I don't know why every time, and even years yesterday, I love seeing camera footage, but it is always so hard to tell. It's just so hard to tell. I just want them to like
possum
come in,
butt.
like give like a whole kiss to the camera or something so I can see everything. But yeah, I 100% believe they are out there. And not only that, I've had tons of people over the last 20 years that I've set up and we went and investigated in all over the place, Nevada, California, Central California, all over the place. And they've got some amazing prints, all kinds of DNA stuff. Just all kinds of stuff. It's very interesting. So yes, I would say I 100% believe Bigfoot.
What do you think they are?
We've had this conversation a few times, and I personally feel that they're interdimensional, and that's just my thought on it. Part of that was just the fact that they're just so elusive, and but again, then Grizzly had pointed out that there have been some, and just like with alien bodies, of course, our government's not going to let us know that, hey, we've got a Bigfoot, because that's what everybody wants to see. So I would think that the few that possibly, don't get away and get caught, yeah, they have them out there, but you just really don't find anything out there. I mean, I've got good friends that are like forest rangers and stuff, and it's like you would just expect to see more. I had a guest on that actually shot a female and a child Bigfoot or something like that, and then they said when they came back, that the bodies were gone, and but again, I've actually heard that a few times that, if one of them gets hurt, the other ones are going to come back and get it and not leave it behind. So, I guess we're never going to know until, our government decides, like with the UFOs, to come out and say, oh, guess what? All these years we've been lying to you. Guess what?
Yeah, the
You're
bodies
right.
will disappear unless the G-men get to them first.
That's right. That's right.
So here's a couple of questions for you. The first one, Wampus, what is a regression? Is it a hypnosis session, or can you describe that,
Yes.
please?
Yes, it is a hypnosis, and it regresses you back into different time periods. They use it a lot. They will do hypnosis, like to stop, overeating or smoking, things like this. It's not really that. It's a hypnosis that regresses you back to a certain point of time. Now that could be in just like a regular one where they take you back. Maybe you had a trauma where you were a victim of a horrific crime or something like that. And and I'm sure as a detective, you probably know, like sometimes people's minds just black out. They don't remember anything, but they can take them and put them under this hypnosis and regress them back to that time period, a very specific time. And depending on the hypnotherapist and what type they use, can be very beneficial. It can, bring back memories. But again, in situations like this, sometimes, you don't remember for very good reasons, and blocked out. And again, for me, am I glad that I found out? I mean, people ask me that. I am glad that I found out. I am glad that I do have some kind of answers for some of the things that I wanted to know, and at least that I know why it's happening. But do I want to know more? Absolutely not. I'm okay. I'm okay.
And the next one, the nanoboss. Does Christina astral travel during meditation and interact higher vibrational beings?
So I can astral travel. I don't like to. I don't like to. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a control freak. I do not like to be out of control. And when you have an out of body experience, it's kind of like willing. I feel like it's Mario Karts. It's like you have no control. Like I'm just going all over the place. I don't have any control. I can't control exactly where I'm going, when I'm coming, when I'm, coming back. So no, I don't do that. Nor do I like to go and interact with anything. They come and interact with me. I don't go searching out anything. I got enough coming to me all the time.
That's interesting.
I don't think I've ever talked to anybody that's astral traveled that has ever been able to control.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's the thing. That's a scary. I don't know. I guess it's a control. I think it's just scary for me to not be in control of what's going on around me, especially with my experiences. So
I can see that. I wouldn't want to do that either.
So how do let's talk about your shows. You have what, 2 shows, correct, that you do?
Yes. Paranormal Connections, which is on Sunday nights at 6 o'clock, and then I have Top Secret News. And again, mind you, I started both of these. I had to start 2 different shows because I got so much flack. I was trying. Paranormal Connection was the original show, and I wanted to do everything together. Cover everything. And the paranormal people were like, "Oh yeah, we love paranormal stuff, but yeah, you can ditch that UFO stuff. We're not interested." And same thing with the UFO people. They're like, "We don't want to hear about paranormal stuff. That stuff doesn't exist." So the only way I could get the information out on both was to create 2 separate shows. So yeah, so Top Secret News is on Thursdays at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And yeah, we kind of talk about everything else. So it's open topic. Unless we have a guest, we just talk about all kinds of stuff.
That's awesome. And how do people get a hold of you there, Christina?
You can find me on Facebook under Christina George. My shows are on all the social media platforms under Paranormal Connections Radio Show. You can also email me at paranormalinvestigator916@gmail.com.
Awesome. What do you think, Chris?
That's amazing. That's very, very good stuff. I mean, I'd like to hear some more stories from her. I'm definitely going to join in some of her shows and listen in. I love it.
He looks like he needs to get off the stream and let this all sink in and decompress.
Well,
it's interesting. This is a
it's
little bit outside of his realm, but it's just like, I thought this would be a good opportunity, not only for you, but also for him. Because I like to have my other parts, co-host and whatever, to broaden the horizons, right? And get their toes wet in different fields as well. Because a lot of people that we come across are multi-talented, right? Or have multi-experiences or encounters. So this way, when you do have somebody like you, we know how certain conversations can unfold, because sometimes if you're stuck on a certain topic, you don't know how to unfold or divulge another conversation, it's hard to translate that or dilute that into another topic.
Right.
And I always say, I can never draw a line. And I used to, Christina, and I told you that on your show. I used to draw a line all the time. And I would say, I'm not going to go past this line. And every time I did, somebody would make me erase that line. And I'd be like, well, if I believe in this, I would have to believe in that. So I quit doing the line thing. And I was just like, you know what? If I got people from California, Nevada, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia's, Ohio, Kentucky, Maine, New York, Michigan, Wisconsin, and I'm talking to 30 people in 60 days, and they're all telling me the same stories. There's some validity to this, right? Because these people don't know each other. They're not like, Christina, let's call Chris and let's share the story. We're going to call Grizzly. They're not doing this. Now, I will say this. Now, do we have little Johnny running around in the woods in an ape suit causing havoc in hell?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Do we have hoax and fakers and wannabes? Yes, we do. Just like you said earlier on the show, that muddles, our community and causes doubt in shadows on people. When they do come forward, they're like, you're full of it. I don't believe it. Nope, not one bit. But, it makes me scratch my head if you believe in the paranormal, but you don't believe in aliens, or you believe in aliens.
I wasn't understanding that every time you were telling us that you have one not believing the other. And to me, it goes hand in hand.
To me too. You would think, but no, it's very, the thing is even the Bigfoot community at that point was on their own. They weren't like, okay, so anything in crypto, all that stuff, and aliens, all that stuff, we're just going to put over here, in this little notch over here. Oh, no, the Bigfoot people were completely separate too, because they were like, look, we ain't talking about Bigfoot, but your ghosts and the alien stuff, and we ain't talking about that. There's no proof of that. Like everybody in their own field, in their own little genre, only was believing in just their stuff. It wasn't until, again, I was just interviewing so many different people, and I was seeing all the connections, and like people who were having, contact or abductions were also having paranormal experiences. And people who were having paranormal experiences would then tell me, oh, I've seen UFOs and I've seen Bigfoot, like all these different things. And I'm like, same thing, like, okay, everybody can't have things. So I'm like, maybe there's something to this, which again was how I spawned Paranormal Connections, because everyone I was talking to, everybody, they're like, oh, that is the most stupidest idea for a radio show ever. Like, nobody's going to listen to your show. And I was like, well, you know what? I don't care. One person listens, that's all that matters. And, it's gone from there. And I'm almost at like 14 years now. So.
All right. And Jesse C has put it out there. It's all connected. And 20 years ago, people in the Bigfoot world would not talk about UFOs. People in the Bigfoot world will not talk about orbs or lights in the woods. Is it connected? I don't know. I mean, but yeah, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. So when we're getting reports, people are seeing lights in the skies and seeing Bigfoot. People are seeing Bigfoot, they're seeing lights in the skies. People are seeing orbs and they're seeing Bigfoot. I mean, what is it? I mean, is it connected or is it not? Now I have not, ladies and gentlemen, see Bigfoot turn into an orb. Nobody has, but I mean, 1 and 1 is 2. I mean, it's not like I tell Chris and people that know me, we can't Google this or go to the library and pull on a Britannica encyclopedia and look all these up and check the facts, right? And Google fact check me. So, what we do is we theorize in trying to take everybody's encounters like yours in stories and put them together with everybody else that we come across that comes forward and we talk to and interview and bring on the show. And we're like, damn, this is another similar case like Christina's. And we add it to the list. Yes.
And the more trends we find, and Christina, you are good enough to put those trends together and see that and not omit those weird anomalies. And, you know, you can't just leave that stuff out. And the people that do are the ones that are a little more, you know, they think in a singular type of fashion. Their mind's focused on one track, and they're not seeing the big picture.
Well, the craziest thing is I was literally blacklisted from the paranormal field because of the fact that I'm just this rebel. Like, you tell me I can't do something, I'm absolutely going to do the show just because I'm going to show you I can do it. And I don't care if it's one person. If nobody listened, I'd do it just because to prove a point. So it's very interesting how it is. But I think that there was tons of people who have experiences and sightings before of all this stuff. It's just a different time where now more people are coming out and talking about it. So, and they're much more open about it. So I think that's what's changing things. But yeah, they didn't want me. So that was one of the reasons I was like, they were blacklisting me from speaking at events and everything. And I was like, you know what? Speak for your little event anyway, and I'm not kissing anybody's butt to be a speaker, so I will just speak to the public and do as I may and as I want, and that's exactly what I did.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for being a truther. I mean, that's appreciated.
And if you look on the screen, Yolanda's reminding me, Grizz, do not forget the fairy we see. Remember last night I told you?
Yes.
I remember on that show, I was like, look, there's a fairy. Oh my God, there's a fairy. And everybody's like, what in the hell's wrong with them? And they had to go back and look. And I was like, damn, Grizz is right. And, you know, and people laugh at me. And they used to laugh. And they did. They in the chat room, they were like, Grizzly believes in fairies. You're damn right I believe in fairies.
Well, you know what? A personal experience will change even the biggest skeptic's mind. That's why when I go out investigating or we do the sky watches or anything, I absolutely love when I meet people and they're like, I don't believe in any of that. Please come with me. I would love for you to tag along, especially paranormal investigations. Oh yeah, I don't think I've had not one yet that hasn't left and ended up like, okay, all right, I may have to rethink my stance on this. But I can't be mad at anybody for not believing because it really is out of this world. And so it's like out of a movie or like you made something up. So until you go through it personally and it affects you, it changes you. These experiences change you forever. It changes the person you are. So again, I'm not mad. All the skeptics, I love them. Come see me. You know, I mean, I'm very skeptical about a lot of things too. So, you know, we'll do it together. If I'm wrong, hey, I would love for somebody to point it out to me.
And Christina George, one more time, how can they reach you and find you?
Check me out on any of the social media, Christina George or Paranormal Connections radio show. And my email again is paranormalinvestigator916@gmail.com.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina.
I love it. Yes.
No, thank you guys. I appreciate you both.
Yeah. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And we will be in contact. I definitely got to have you back because we are not done with you. And from coast to coast and around the world, we'll call it a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you tomorrow. Night. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining. Don't forget to check out her and join her Facebook and YouTube page.
And don't forget our sponsors too. Check them out. Check them out.
Our affiliates. Yeah, I'm onboarding with a new one this Thursday. By the way, I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, thank you. Yeah, they're in the comments. Thank you. All right, take care, everybody. Good night. Bye bye.